Hey everybody, and welcome back to All Bronze No Brains, the podcast where Dave and I dive deep into the wild world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You've been with us now for 34 episodes, and today, finally, we're talking about Becoming Part 2. The emotional and heart-wrenching send your boyfriend to hell and get kicked out of home finale that changed absolutely everything. It's been an incredible season, and we've had amazing guests, unforgettable moments, and more mental breakdowns than that mad bitch Drusilla. So grab your sticks, clutch your clatter ring, and let's get into it. Becoming Part 2.
Very good, Tilly. That was a great intro.
I like having we scripted things because I think I can do those quite well.
Look at how far you've come, man.
It's because I was watching Eurovision tonight. Next to the stage is Czechoslovakia, who are here for their first time in 27 years.
Oh my god, that accent went all around Europe there. Okay, everybody, hey, welcome to All Bronze No Brains, episode 34. What a great intro there by Tony Leron Webster.
Leron.
What a professional. That only took him 16 times.
You lying bitch.
Becoming Part 2, Season 2, Episode 22, 9.5 on IMDb, third highest rated Buffy episode so far. Wait.
Yeah.
Of all time.
Not of all time.
Yeah, of all time. This is written and directed by Joss Whedon and was first aired on May 19th, 1998. There you go. Here we are, the concluding part of our epic 2-part finale. So to recap, Drew killed Kendra, Vamps attacked the library and kidnapped Giles, broke Xander's arm, knocked Willow out under the Billy bookcase. I have
you
actually
not read these
this.
yet?
No, I did
It's okay
read them,
if
but it still made me laugh the first time. I tried not to laugh there. Angel wasn't worthy enough to pull the sword out of a Catholic. Angel wasn't worthy enough to pull a sword out of a Catholic, and Spike can walk but still chooses not to. The episode ended with Sunnydale PD pulling a gun on Buffy over Kendra's dead body in the library. So yeah, here we go. I didn't get as emotional as you did.
Yeah. I don't expect anyone ever to.
Still a really good episode. Obviously, it's a great episode. But I think I preferred Becoming Part 1. I think I always prefer setups. I always enjoy like Act 1 and 2 over like how like Godfather 1 and 2 is great, or even the first two original Star Warses were great, and then you get the third one, you're getting like whenever they go to the Kerber planet. Anyway,
I love that Planet of Arias.
But see, that's what I mean. I think you like a conclusion.
Yeah, I do.
You like a part 3.
I do. Well, with that said, I'll just apologise for how the last episode ended, because I thought it would be funny to end it with me shouting freeze and then putting the credits up as if it was of Buffy, and it caused some confusion within our listeners.
Yeah. Confusion or mild irritation as to what the fuck you were doing.
Because I forget that a lot of people are listening to it and not watching it.
Oh, yes.
So it's like they would
I
have
actually
just heard
think
freeze.
more people listen to it than watch it.
We start right where we left off, with the police pointing a gun at Buffy and telling her to freeze. The two policemen grab Buffy as she pleads for them to let her check on her friends after noticing that Xander is knocked out on the library floor.
With a broken arm.
Yeah, although I don't think she can tell his arm is broken through his jumper, but they pull her out of the library as Principal Snyder arrives with more cops. He tells the police she's Buffy Summers. If there's trouble, she's behind it. And she calls him a stupid little troll, which I loved.
He is a stupid little troll.
He is, but I was just like, whoa, that was a wee bit... Because he actually
Too
looks
true.
like a troll, I felt
Yeah.
like it was a bit too close for comfort. She's about to be arrested for Kendra's murder, so she does the only thing she can think of, which is to punch the popo in the face and escape. As she runs off, a policewoman tries to shoot her. And now we finally have an answer to a question that your sister Katrina asked long ago.
And where was the police? Why did Buffy not phone the police?
Why can't Buffy ring the police?
Why is she not ringing the police?
Katrina, this is why Buffy's not ringing the police. I can't believe that policewoman. She's like, get down! Stop! And then just tries to shoot Buffy in the head. because it's like a fucking headshot because it hits the window. I'm just like,
Americans will American. They're in a
oh,
school. They have
I
a
forgot
gun.
it.
They can't help but shoot.
I forgot it was America. Headshots only when you're in school.
That's not funny, of course, but
No, it's not. It's ludicrous. That's what makes it funny.
thank you. The rapper.
Luda. Sorry. The policewoman calls for backup, telling that suspect is 16, blonde, Sunnydale High School, very dangerous. And I don't know if you noticed behind her in the background the big poster that's on the wall outside the library, and it says AIDS on it.
No, I didn't.
And I couldn't read what the smaller text was or the context of the poster, but I thought it was funny that it just said AIDS on the poster over this woman's shoulder. And we're straight into the credits. That was another whopper of an opener. I loved it.
Very good opener. Quite liked that she ran. I don't know why. It feels like such a really childish thing to do, but it's like exactly what you would do.
It also felt like she just literally knew there's no way for her to get out of this because she knows what it looks like.
She's the killer.
We see Buffy arrive to the hospital in disguise, a black beanie and big coat. And obviously, we know that disguise is not her strong suit, as we remember from season 1 when she was following that guy with this when she was wearing the sunglasses and trench coat. It's just terrible at disguises. Unlike you, Tony,
Yep.
very good at disguises.
This guy, that guy.
Xander finds her. Very good. Xander finds her and she gives him the biggest hug, which, as the last time they had talked to each other, it was like a big fight in the library or whatever. So all is forgiven or forgotten. We see Xander's arm is in a cast, and as 2 policemen come into the hospital, he like grabs her in for a hug.
That was about equal parts protecting me and copping a feel, right? What is it?
And that's where we cut to Willow in her hospital bed, unconscious, and actually genuinely looking quite rough as balls. You with a hangover now in your late 30s.
I think you are a ruthless, nasty bitch.
Xander explains that she has head trauma, and the longer it lasts, the less likely that she will wake up, which is a bit more dramatic than it needed to be, I think, at this point, because she's definitely going to wake up.
But I remember watching it for the first time back in the olden days when there's like no spoilers, and we've also seen Jenny just die. So there was a real possibility as a viewer not really knowing whether.
Oh yeah, I never thought about it in that context. I never thought about. Obviously, I know she's still in it later on.
It's hard knowing that like 7 series exists, but at the time, I think watching it, the jeopardy still felt real.
All right, okay, that's good to know. That's good little insider knowledge. Sorry, we should do a podcast. Oh yeah, the score is class whenever Willow's in bed, and Christoph Beck again delivering dramatic and sad flair at the same time. He's very nuanced, I feel like, in his like you don't notice it. Do you know what I mean? It's not like coming in with big fanfares and like here's a big whopping sad moment. It's kind of just quite delicately done or something. He's very deft.
He writes great character pieces, which I think are great because it allows them to come back at different points, as we see during the show.
Yes, so then you recognize the theme.
Christoph Beck also did the music for WandaVision.
No way. The music in WandaVision
Yeah.
is fucking amazing too. It's
Yeah, it
so
is.
good. Sanders says he called her parents who were with relatives in Phoenix, but they are going to come back. But he's forgot to call Oz in the hullabaloo. Cordelia shows up and hugs Xander and gives him a kiss, and everyone's on their A game. They're in it now. That's the group. This is it now. I think we've had the whole season building up to I feel like the Scooby gang coming together, Cordelia figuring out her role in it, and even with Oz figuring out his wee role in it and stuff. And I think this is the moment where like, and it's usually here we go. We haven't used this word in ages. That common trope of like, that's, oh my God, it's just having a real moment. This is such a Joss Whedon thing to do. So like, do you ever remember in Avengers, whenever Coulson dies, like that's what they use to like solidify the group. And I think having the sort of most vulnerable in the group physically being Willow, who is really hurt, I'm just having a real moment now, who's really hurt, I think is cementing that group, making Buffy be fucking raging and be like, right, fuck it, Angel's dead now. And like, I think that's just, and to be fair, he's really stretched that out over the season, and it's been worth it.
He doesn't do anything without there being a real like purpose to it,
Yeah.
which is one good thing about Joss Whedon. Like,
Yeah.
everything has a purpose. Willow being, technically the weakest, but in terms of being a hero, having like the strongest, like she wants.
Bravery. She's super
Yeah,
brave.
brave.
Super.
Yeah,
She may
yeah.
not be the strongest, may not be the biggest, but she's got a heart the size of like probably the biggest of them all. Like, and as you see later on, when she wakes up, the first thing she wants to do is go straight back in and start doing the spell again. So like, she just is a beast. Like,
Beast. Yeah. How dare you?
so this is like a real good moment to see Cordelia's full sort of blossoming transformation chrysalis to butterfly, where she's showing genuine concern for Willow and like
Yeah.
genuine love for Xander. And she just says she ran through like 3 counties before she realized no one was chasing her. But Buffy tells her that it was the right thing to do because she just run like fuck. Which it totally, and I actually really appreciate
It was.
because she gets out of danger. It means it's another person that Buffy doesn't have to save, essentially. And when Xander asks, did Giles keep up with her? She says she didn't see Giles and he's not in the hospital. Dun, dun, dun.
I love that, and even the wee twist in the music and everything. Like, I watched this episode and the last one through the view of like my big experience of like getting it on VHS for Christmas. I'm watching it on Christmas Day, and I'd never seen any of season 2 yet because season 1 had just aired in the UK. So having this like finale episode, I was like, I think that's why there's so much of it that is like I remember that because I've got a really good memory and like a very strong sense memory. So I think when I watch it every time, still, oh my god, even talking about it now, I feel like I'm gonna cry because I'm just thinking about it.
That's so nice. I that must be just, it's not even just like, it's the nostalgic of watching that, not just the actual episode itself. Because like the episode is really good, but it wasn't that.
You just don't watch things anymore in the era of TV being as good as what it is. It's hard to be shocked.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I guess that's what it is. It's like, there was, we'll get to it when we get to it. There's just a wee part at the end that I was a bit like, but you might convince me otherwise whenever we talk about it. Because you are, as you're so passionate about it, it's actually, you're making me enjoy the episode even more. Listen, you
I'll
talk
enjoy
about it.
you even more.
Oh, you
But I
wish.
was going to ask you, actually, did you feel like in these 2 episodes that there was a very noticeable jump in terms of like
Yeah, quality and
quality
effort.
and storytelling probably
Yeah.
as well?
It felt like a movie. It felt like because it is essentially the length. It's a 90 minutes, essentially 80 to 85 minute script. So it is essentially.
And that was
a
the way
movie.
it was on the VHS. It was like a special episode presentation, and it was all one big episode.
Just a feature length.
We see Giles on the mansion living room floor with Angel lying down next to him. I quite like this. There was something very playful and gay about Angel. The more I think about it, the more I think Joss Whedon's written him as he's purposely written him as like a camp
Yeah.
diva villain.
Yeah. Yeah, he is really camp, isn't he? He's OTT. He's quite over the top at times. And then you get Spike being really cool and really like menacing without moving.
Angel flat out says he's going to torture Giles, and he's like, "Oh, the last time I tortured someone, they didn't even have chainsaws."
It's a good line.
I'm like, all right, Fruit, calm down. Giles sees a Kafla is still a statue with the sword still in him, and Angel yammers on about how he must have done something wrong with the ritual, but presumes Giles knows what he should do, but sort of hopes he doesn't tell him because he really wants to torture Giles. That was another line where Angel was like, "Stop saying naff things thinking you're cool." And he's like,
Yeah.
"Because I really want to torture you."
All right,
Like, you're
yeah.
fucking torturing me now. Shut the fuck up.
Shut up.
You're melting my head, Angel.
My tits.
At Buffy's house, the police are talking to Joyce, who's adamant there's been some sort of mistake, and we see that sexy bald detective again.
You love a ball.
I love him as well. It's wee things like that, having the same detective from like 12 episodes
Yes.
before. I think
It
it's just
feels like
such
a community. It's
it's
I
a strong
agree.
part of building the world.
Yeah.
Joyce has no clue where Buffy is, but then again, when has she ever?
Social services comes.
CPS. She says maybe she stayed at Willow's house, and when the police hear her say Willow, they're like, Willow Rosenberg, the second victim. And Joyce is like, what the fuck's going on?
Imagine she did. Imagine she just went, what the fuck's going on?
What the fuck's going on? They ask about Buffy's history of violence and leave a card with him saying it'll be best if Buffy just came into the station. Now, to be fair, in Joyce's position, based on appearance and evidence, I would probably be worried that Buffy had done something.
I mean, it's kind of laid up in such a way. Her reputation speaks for itself.
It does kind of bring me back to Ted when we see, from Joyce's point of view, Buffy overreacted to Ted, and she basically beat him to death, flinging him down the stairs. Obviously, he was a robot, but if he'd have been human,
Obviously, he's a robot.
He would have been dead. But Joyce doesn't know he's a robot.
This is true.
But obviously, it's like I like that we're now at the point where it's like obviously Joyce finds out in this episode, but we're now at the point where it's like there's no choice.
That was surprising. That surprised me. I didn't know Joyce ever found out.
Really?
I didn't know Joyce ever knew. So I was really
God.
like, what?
Joyce,
Did she know?
Joyce gets so much better from finding out, and I think it's because, like what I'd said, when you view things from Buffy's eyes, that's why Joyce is being like kept at a distance. But Joyce she's spectacular in season 3.
Oh, serious? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, love her.
Spectacular. Okay, so then this is where we cut to Buffy bursting into Giles' place, and we hear Whistler.
I don't think he's here.
Who are you?
Whistler.
And a little nod here. I really appreciate that he's never whistling. That would have been a really annoying thing if he was called Whistler and he walked in going, "Whoosh." That would be just so. Maybe he does at some point, but he hasn't so far, and I appreciated it.
Thank God his name isn't Shorter.
What the fuck? Why that one? Why short?
I was trying to think of something you do with noise.
What are you doing here?
Waiting for you.
Why?
Because I need a date to the prom.
I have had a really bad day, okay? If you have information worth hearing, then I am grateful for it. If you're going to crack jokes, then I'm going to pull out your ribcage and wear it as a hat.
He tells her that it wasn't supposed to go down like this, and nobody saw you coming. Didn't you short Angel in the first place? That's a really good point.
You literally introduced her to Angel, or Angel to her, drove him across the country to see her.
Yeah, that's a good point. So how does this make sense?
Maybe they just didn't think that Buffy was going to Angel, but I'm just like, if you're introducing a middle-aged man to a sexy young teenager from across the country, well, first of all...
Middle-aged man, the man's 200 years old. He's from the middle age.
That's funny. That was good. That was really good.
He says he thought Angel was going to stop Cathla, not bring him forth. He asks her what she's prepared to do and what she's prepared to give up. Buffy's like, what are you, some immortal demon sent down to even the score between good and evil? It's just one of those moments where she hits the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Alright, okay.
Yeah, because Whistler's like, wow, good guess.
He tells her that the sword isn't enough. She needs to be ready. She has to know how to use it as Buffy storms out. This is a good wee scene. This guy's class. I really like him. I hope we see more of him in season 3.
Well, we don't. So Buffy's slinking around town. Sorry, I made myself laugh at this. Buffy's slinking around town in her 10 out of 10 disguise as the police pull up and try to arrest her. I'm like, how did they even know it was her? She was wearing a beanie.
I was wondering the same thing. I was wondering the same thing too. We've never seen the police in this town. We've seen them about 3 times, and now they're in every fucking street corner trying to find Buffy.
So Spike shows up out of nowhere, knocks the policeman out, and says, hello, cutie, much to Buffy's visible shock. After exchanging a few punches with her, they strike a deal. He says that he'll help stop Angel if she allows him and Drusilla to leave town. And Spike tells Buffy, he's got your watcher.
He's got your watcher.
But it almost sounded like Northern Irish the way he said it. He's got your watcher.
He's got your watcher.
Spike explains that while vampires may love talking absolute shite about ending the world, that they actually have a pretty cushy. Dog racing, Manchester United, and people walking around like Happy Meals with legs.
This is one of those moments where he definitely isn't a Manchester United fan.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't say the word Manchester United. He would say
He'd call him Man U.
Or Man United. Yeah.
Even I know that, and I'm an absolute fruit.
Absolute.
Spike tells Buffy that he wants things to go back the way they were before Angelus come along. Buffy calls him pathetic and punches him, saying,
The whole earth may be sucked into hell, and you want my help because your girlfriend's a big hoe?
I love that line.
Yeah.
I just thought it was so good. And I didn't know what a hoe was when I first watched it as well. So I was like, Mummy, what's a hoe? She's like, your sister.
What's one?
Obviously, Kelly.
I'm sorry, Kelly.
He says that Buffy can't stop Angel without his help, and she punches him again, telling him she hates him. I hate you. Spike's like, I'm all you've got. Now, for me, I felt like this was the epitome of like character development.
Agreed.
At least in this episode.
Agreed.
Because Spike is obviously, it goes to show that he's a complicated character. Like, he's evil, but he loves because he like has got Drusilla, and he's willing to join forces with Buffy because he hates Angel. And I just think that makes for a really kind of likable, well-rounded
It's
character.
not even just likable. It just
It's
adds
interesting.
complex depth and nuance to character and to people
Yeah.
on this. Because also what you notice in this scene that I wouldn't have noticed before is there's chemistry between Buffy and Spike.
Yeah.
There just is, and that's not something, that's one of those like table read thing. That's like they're just between
Yeah.
Sarah Michelle Gellar and James Marston.
Marsters.
Fuck, I can't remember his name. Like you can tell that they have chemistry. Like there's a spark of something there between the two of them because he isn't just this love to. He's a bit more complicated, a bit more grounded than just like lovesick Angel.
Well, this episode is really the start of Spike. Obviously, we know Spike shows up later in the series, but this is really the start of kind of the beginning of his complex journey because he has a couple of years where his alliances are kind of flexible when it suits him, depending on what he wants.
I like
Which
that. I
I
quite
just
like
think it
that in
makes
the
him
character.
way more interesting than even like Drusilla or Angelus, who just are like evil and want to end the world. There's no complexity there.
Oh yeah, the fact that he was like, not all vampires want the world to end.
After all that, a policeman's starting to regain his consciousness, and Spike's like, let me just finish him off here, sure. And I'm like, oh yeah, I bet you'd love to finish him off. And Buffy's like, come on, chick, we need to get inside.
So then this is where we get to the we cut to the hospital. Cordelia's being super sweet to Xander and goes to get him a coffee so he can sit with Willow. Again, the score just really elevates like this moment between Xander and Willow we're about to have.
I just also loved this when Cordelia's like, do you want a coffee? And Xander's like, no, I'm okay. I don't want to leave. And she's just like, I'll go get it for you. Because it just seems like a type of writing that you wouldn't make it into a TV show these days.
It's because it's unnecessary information. You don't need that info.
Yeah.
That's just color. That's just there to hear her tone and to hear her sympathy. And
Yeah,
to see
it's a really
that-
smart move because we saw this when she brought Xander coffee and donuts before. Remember when Buffy was in hospital? So I just like all these wee moments. I think Joss Whedon's been very smart in the way he's planted them.
Xander tells a comatose Willow that he really needs her to wake up. He delivers a lovely, wee emotional scene, which he really does, to be fair. He's really
Yeah.
in the moment.
Did a great job.
Yeah. And he tells her that he loves her, and she wakes up. So this bit, right, wakes up asking for Oz, who appears in the room. How long was Oz standing there? When he's declaring
that's-
love, is it platonic? I get the feeling it's platonic love. I don't get the feeling he's declaring an emotional...
No, it's definitely not. But I think one of the things that that we have struggled to see the entire Buffy experience is Xander never verbally saying what his feelings are for Willow, even in a platonic sense.
Yeah.
So it felt like a big moment for him to even just say that out loud because
that's a good point.
she's always been very vocal about how she feels about him, even when she talks about him to Buffy. But it's not something that Xander's ever returned because obviously he's more emotionally
stunted.
Hello, Miss Murdermouth. Can I get a sentence finished?
Willow asks if everyone else is okay, which is so sweet. She's so nice.
I love that was her first concern when she woke up. It was like if everyone was okay.
That's that bravery thing. No concern of herself. It's just about the gang. We cut to Giles with his hands tied behind his back, bloody. Angel sitting across from him, cleaning his glasses for him.
For anyone who's into interior design of the mansion, by the way, because it's kind of like a famous architectural thing, the lamp next to Angel that's absolutely beautiful is an Art Deco UFO Sputnik lamp and costs around $600.
That's actually pretty reasonable.
With your broke ass.
Angel tells Giles he's impressed at how well he's holding up. Giles is clearly in pain and shaking, doing such a good job of looking like an absolute torment.
I have a tidbit about that. Anthony Head would eat like red hot chilies in between the takes,
Oh, the
so
sweat.
that he would
Give
have
him
like a real
stress.
discomfort. Yeah,
and that would make your body go into stress. Like, yeah. So then Angel starts doing something to Giles and says, "Tell me when it hurts, Daddy."
Well, this was the thing I was going to say, like the way the cameras are positioned, like because Giles is in the chair and Angel's like next to him, and you can't really see what his hands are doing, but it's like oddly homoerotic. And this is obviously in my brain.
No,
from, like,
I got that too. I felt like Angel's being a bit gay here. Maybe it's
because it reminds me of the famous scene from like Queer as Folk, where like the straight guy and the gay guy, like in the locker room, like one of them slips his hand into his trousers and like,
holy fuck.
Oh my God, I used to love that scene so much because it was like obviously some of the first gay stuff on TV and it was such like a fantasy, you know, for like straight schoolboys. That's what gave me my straight. I'm not gonna say that's what gave me my straight schoolboy fantasy. When I was also a schoolboy.
Snip that and put it up on the Instagram.
But I will put in the clip here, not of the from Queer as Folk, but of Angel and Giles, because it does look like his hands out of shot, and it's like, tell me when it
Suggested.
hurts. It's like, yeah, he's obviously just bending his fingers behind his back or something, but
Don't.
stop me. Buffy and Spike are arriving to Buffy's house when Joyce pulls up in the driveway, demanding to know what the actual fuck is going on. She's been driving around looking for her the whole night after the visit from the police. I just love Joyce from this moment on in this episode, to be fair. When she's like, who is this man? Who are you? Are you okay? I've never really picked up, I think, the comedy in these wee moments before as well.
Who is this man? Who are you? Are you okay?
Mom.
Who are you? and Spike is kind of like humorously surprised that Joyce has no idea that Buffy's the Slayer, so she quickly lies and says that she's in a rock band.
Right, she plays the triangle.
Drums.
Drums, yeah. She's hell on the old skins, you know.
Buffy says we can talk about this inside, right as a vampire attacks them, forcing Buffy to slay him in front of Joyce. Spike comments that was one of Angel's boys, and Joyce is like, Buffy, what the actual flying fuck is going on? Buffy steps forward and calmly tells her mum,
I'm a vampire slayer.
I'm a vampire slayer. And Joyce is just like,
Yeah, it was a great reveal. Didn't know it was going to happen. When it happened, I was like, wait, how are they going to make her lose her memory? I thought that was, going to be like, she'll wake up and be like,
yeah.
Oh, I had a dream. I was going to have sex with Xander for some reason. Do you remember he had, I know.
Yeah, that's right. When they were going to pump.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see, obviously, because I know what happens, but I'm excited to see, for you to see how it changes Joyce as a character, because there will probably be no more slagging off Joyce anymore.
Oh,
not too much. There's still maybe a wee bit of
shit,
slagging.
Mum.
She's brilliant from that. Well, she's definitely shit in this episode. We see Buffy and Willow have a chat on the phone. Willow tells Buffy that she's okay and that her brain didn't get mushed, and Buffy is clearly relieved. Willow apologizes that she didn't get to cure Angel, and Buffy very maturely says, don't be. Clearly it wasn't meant to be, and it just makes it easier. Buffy tells Willow that she's found Giles. She got a lucky break, and you wouldn't believe me if I told you. Cut to Spike and Joyce sitting in an awkward silence. I love this. It was so good.
This is an example of Joss Whedon putting in stuff just to flesh out character.
Joss Whedon also loves having like the anti-hero team up with the hero. And there being like a awkward. Also, because I don't think you've seen it, but the episode where Spike comes into Buffy.
He what?
Sorry.
I thought that didn't happen in season 6.
Uh-oh, spoilers.
The episode, his first Buffy episode when he attacks the school, it's parent-teacher night, and Joyce hits him with an axe.
You get the hell away from my daughter.
Buffy's now talking to Xander on the phone and tells him that Angel and Co are shacked up at that funky-looking mansion outside town, and she says she's going to hit it come daybreak. And I love, finally, we're seeing Buffy have a plan that involves the daytime, because I'm like, why do they always wait till nighttime when vampires are pure weak during the day? She tells him not to come. She's got backup. Xander asks if she thinks that Giles is still alive, and she says yes. I just wish he was here to tell me what to do. Back in the living room, Joyce asks Spike if they've met, and he says,
You hit me with an axe one time. Remember, get the hell away from my daughter.
Oh. So, do you live here in town?
Such a mum.
It's great because Joss Whedon is now gets to let Joyce have some humor by playing into this, which is great. So it offers a new level of depth to her character.
Buffy comes back into the room, accepting Spike's offer to help, but she's not happy about letting Drew go because she killed Kendra, which is a totally good point. Spike is pleasantly surprised and proud that Drusilla bagged the Slayer, which again, I love that he would be proud of that. I just like that he's not pretending to be good.
Can't believe I invited you into my house.
So you didn't kill that girl?
Of course not.
I love that she still isn't too sure whether or not she did.
Did she explode like that man out there?
She was a Slayer, Mom.
Like what you are?
I was just going to say I felt like the frustration in this scene was really understandable because Buffy's just trying to deal with Spike, but obviously having to deal with her mom, almost like being like a little kid, like pulling on her dress or whatever. And it kind of made me feel for Joyce too, because she's trying to get her head around obviously all of this new information. But I do like that Joss Whedon has given Joyce the almost like the comic response here, especially when we get into some of these later lines where that has a bit of a almost like you start to see the gay metaphor and like the coming out metaphor starts to become.
There's so much of that in this. The whole last scenes, I was just like, fuck, this is Tony's teenage life.
Mommy, I am a Slayer, right? And I suck dick.
I suck dick. Joyce continues to interject while Spike and Buffy are cementing the deal.
Honey, are you sure you're a vampire slayer? I mean, have you tried not being a slayer?
Mom.
This whole bit is just like you telling your parents you're gay. Buffy tells Spike to get back to the mansion and be ready to back her up when she makes her move. She tells him if Giles dies, she kills Drusilla. Love that. Quid pro quo. He did, she did.
It's because you didn't have a strong father figure, isn't it?
Yours is too strong.
Joyce is brilliant.
And then Buffy has her frustration is like growing with her mum. She's getting shorter and more like, which I'm like, give her a fucking break. She's just found out vampires are real. And you're like, oh, Mum, get over it.
I'm the Slayer. Accepted.
We should call the police.
Why did Buffy not phone the police?
Cops can't fight demons. I have to do it.
Do what? Buffy, what is happening?
Just have another drink.
Don't you talk to me that way.
This part is good because it really is like when your ma gets raging at you.
Yeah, when you say that one thing, like, what was your one line that you said that you got that reaction from a parent? I remember when I was in 4th year and I went to get my results from like a parent day thing, and Maureen went up and I wasn't there, and she came home and she gave me this bollocking and it was fucking, what do you call him who taught us maths?
Mr. McCune.
Morris fucking threw me under the bus. He gave me an A for my academic grade, but an F for my effort grade, and all of my subjects were E and F for effort in 4th year. And I remember that was my year. That was my little rebellion year. That was my year of like, I had like a stinking attitude and like really sarcastic. Like it would have been an English class and I would have been going like, you know, if it had been like Of Mice and Men, it's like, oh, and the red curtains. Like, why do you think he chose red curtains? And I used to always be like, because he just picked that colour. Like, it doesn't have to be about the fact that Curly's wife's a slut. It could just be because they had red curtains. So Moyne was giving me this pure bollocking. And I remember just not reacting. I was just sitting there going like, you know, like really smugly sitting there going, did you? Aye, And then she turned around and she's like, what do you have to say for yourself? And I was like, I just have one question. What did you get in your GCSEs? Sorry, I think what I said is, what did you get in your one GCSE? Oh, holy fuck.
Oh my God.
I run like fuck.
God, you're the worst.
Joyce smashes her glass and tells Buffy not to speak to her that way. And I think at this point we should just put in the rest of the scene.
Don't you talk to me that way. You don't get to just dump something like this on me and pretend it's nothing.
I'm sorry, Mom, but I don't have time for this.
No, I am tired of I don't have time, or you wouldn't understand. I am your mother, and you will make time to explain yourself.
I told you. I'm a vampire slayer.
Well, I just don't accept that.
Open your eyes, Mom. What do you think has been going on for the past 2 years? The fights, the weird occurrences. How many times have you washed blood out of my clothing and you still haven't figured it out?
Well, it stops now.
No, it doesn't stop. It never stops. Do you think I chose to be like this? Do you have any idea how lonely it is? How dangerous? I would love to be upstairs watching TV or gossiping about boys or, God, even studying. But I have to save the world. Again.
No, this is insane. Buffy, you need help.
I'm not crazy. What I need is for you to chill. I have to go.
No, I am not letting you out of this house.
You can't stop me.
Oh, yes, You walk out of this house, don't even think about coming back.
There's so much to unpack here. An incredible emotional moment with top tier acting from both Sarah and Christine, my mates.
I was going to say, who?
But as a young gay boy, this whole coming out speech was so powerful and impactful on me. And now that I'm older, I can see it from both sides, which I think that's one of the biggest life lessons I've learned, especially as a gay person, that it constantly has to kind of come out. I know you're thinking, like, I'm sure everyone knows you're a fruit anyway.
I'm sorry. Do you have to constantly come out?
I know you're joking, but I think it's a good opportunity to kind of answer that question, because I think some people will think like you come out and that's it. But when you get a new job, when you meet new people like all the time, you can either like just kind of casually drop it in, but you are kind of constantly having to let people.
Yeah, I don't have to let people know I'm
No.
straight. Oh wait,
You
Never
do
mind.
actually. That's so funny. You constantly have to come out as straight. You understood this speech. You're like, "Mommy, I'm straight." Your coming out speech.
No, you're not. That's disgusting. Get up to your room.
Get up to your room and fuck Tony now. Now, I've seen discourse online that not everyone views this scene like this, which is completely fine. This is just my interpretation of it. But I also think, like, how could you not see this as an allegory
For coming
for
out?
coming out?
Are people trying to crack that
Yeah.
it's not an allegory for coming out?
A couple of straight people were like, "Why does it have to be gay though?" Because I had commented like on Reddit, obviously saying like this was one of my favorite scenes because as a gay person, this is what it meant to me, and they're like, what's gay about it?"
Yeah, no, I think that's just people not having any empathy, or literally as I was watching this scene, as she said that thing, just have another drink, I was like, and as the scene progressed, I just was going, the whole time I sat there in my head going like, Tony's coming out, this is Tony's life, this is Tony's story, this is definitely gay coming out story, like, or it could be gay coming out story, or it could be like, you've changed religion. It's just you're doing something that your parents don't agree with and they think is fundamentally wrong. And it's like, whether or not it is fundamentally wrong is neither here nor there. Now, being gay is fundamentally wrong. We know that. It says so in the Bible. But sorry, I don't come into that.
I know, I love when you commit to it too, especially with the way I'm going to edit it. But this is the thing, like looking at this scene and even thinking about my mum, and obviously I'll talk about it a wee bit later. It led me into having a really good conversation again with my mum about this stuff specifically, because I thought it would be interesting to hear her point of view on things as being the other person in the coming out scenario. Joyce's denial and telling Buffy that it needs to stop, while Buffy kind of angrily pushes back saying it never stops. And I love that when she uses those lines when she's like, "I'd love to be upstairs, like doing my homework or gossiping about boys or God even studying," because it just goes to show that like she actually wishes that she just had that normal
What is
life.
societally normal? Well, sorry, I'm not
Yeah.
using the allegory, but that normal life, yeah.
Joyce tells her that she needs help, and Buffy says, "I'm not crazy." And I love that part will come back again. But I thought that was a really valid point in how people kind of weaponize mental health against people who identify as LGBTQIA.
Plus.
And it is funny. I feel like we're on Becoming Buffy podcast now, because now I can talk about things that are like all deep and personal to me. Hi, Sarah. Okay.
No, you're not. Get up to your room.
But this is the thing that is so good about Buffy, like the reason why I've loved it so much as well, and why when I'll always be like, it's so good, it's so deep, because you can imagine me at 12 watching this and being able to relate to something on that. And that's something Joss Whedon is brilliant at, like putting real life scenarios into supernatural settings, because it's things like Buffy that made me realize it would be okay. It would be okay to be who I am, that
really
she
lovely.
still had friends. So as a teen, when you're coming out, it's like, as a gay boy, when you're coming out, it's like, it seems like the scariest thing ever. Now, when I came out, it really put me at odds with my parents, and not actually because of them. I know at the time it felt like it was, but with a bit of hindsight, I can actually see now it was a lot to do with me, which I think is very mature of me to say.
Well done.
Joyce says something here that as I got older, I started to understand more, which is like, you don't just get to dump this on me and then walk away like it's nothing. And I think there is this idea when you come out that people just need to accept it and that's it, instead of there being some grace in when you're asking someone to accept the truth about you, that you're also willing to be patient with their truth, and that it's okay if they aren't okay with it.
Wow.
Because that works both ways.
Yeah. I just think that's a really interesting point you've just made there. I've never heard anyone say it before, and it takes a lot of strength to humility to put your parents to not just berate them as why the fuck could you just understand that I was gay, blah, blah, blah. But imagine being a parent and like, you know, I want to be a parent, and I'd imagine like when you have your little baby, if I even think about my nieces and nephews and stuff, and you have envisage what their life will be like. You can imagine that parent has an envisage, and then the child has just went, no, I am this, and then you're going, but I had this mapped out for your life.
And it's not because the parent doesn't want their child to not be gay. It's because they want their child to have the easiest version of the life that they can have. My mum said something very similar. It's not necessarily that our parents like don't want us to be gay. It's more like they understand that the world is not a place that makes it easy for people who identify that way, and they just want their kids to be happy. This obviously leads to Joyce in the heat of the moment telling Buffy that if she leaves to not even think about coming back. And Buffy again is having to like isolate herself to do the right thing, and now it's at the cost of like her one familial connection. For some coming out context, I asked my mum a few questions about me coming out to give a little perspective. What is your memory of me coming out?
I do find it hard to remember what it was like when you first came out to me. You were acting slightly strange. I just wasn't sure. Maybe there was wee traits of that in you, by the way you acted and the way you said things. When you came out, and it really did hit me, was when Alex was over here with you. It became more real then, because then we realised that you did have those feelings, and it wasn't just something that you were going through. It was what you were.
Did it make you worry or scared for how it would affect my life?
Yes, I was worried for you, and I was scared for you, knowing what society was like then. Even though it doesn't seem that long ago, I was afraid of what you could encounter. I was also afraid for what could happen you if you were within the wrong company. Yes, I was worried and wondered how it would affect you later on in life as you got older. How would it affect your friends and how they thought about it as well?
You've become a wonderful ally to the community in the years that have followed, supporting me and going to local drag shows. What advice would you give to other parents who are maybe dealing with a child coming out?
All I can say is it does take a while for you to come to terms with it. My advice to anybody with a child coming out is try and understand. Eventually you will come to understand what lies ahead for them coming out as gay. Also, Tony, this is for yourself. As your mother, I am proud of how you've handled everything you've had to deal with through coming out being gay, through friends pushing you to the side, through churches turning their back on you. I think you've come out a better person, a more understanding person. And I am very proud of you, as is your father and your sisters.
Oh, that was so lovely. Oh, that was so nice of your mummy. That was so sincere.
Like, after I came out, I still had my own like internal struggle over the response not being exactly what I wanted. And as an angry, stroppy teen, I came to live with you. Do you remember when I came out to you?
As bad, yeah. In school, I think he came out to Noreen first, and then you and Noreen came to me, and then you were like in the library.
I feel like my memory is of Noreen like smirking to the side while I was telling you I'm bi, because obviously you both know I was a big fruit.
Yeah, and it was in the library, and it was after school.
Was it an open night and the orchestra was playing in the canteen?
Yes, that was it. Because we were 15, fourth year. I think we're 15, 16. 15 was fourth year. And then you just came and was like, oh my God, Dave, I have something to tell you. And I was like...
Pulled your cousin's dick out of my mouth. I'm gay.
Yeah, you're like, I think I'm bi. And I was like... I think I just remember going like...
Do you not think you're gay?
I think I probably did say, like, we say gay wrong.
You did say to me, like, no, I actually just gay. You know, obviously I think a lot of people stop off in Bytown out of the fear of like being fully accepted. But I was really lucky in a way where like I didn't lose friends for coming out, at least the first time in school. It was not a big deal.
No.
And even in school, I don't think I got bullied. I didn't get bullied for being gay.
I think he got more of a...
Like, people would say things like, oh, fruit or faggot, and I'm just like, but when you are fruit and a faggot, it's not offensive.
Yeah. But also I think there was like a level of like, you were the first gay in our school that came out anyway.
So I was the queen bee. Because I think realistically, nothing changed when I came out as gay. I didn't change as a person, except for maybe telling you stories then of like, fuck, stuff I was doing with boys.
Yes, the stories increased.
You loved it.
As that scene ends, you can see Joyce's head in her hands, like when Buffy walks out. And you can tell that she knows she hasn't handled it perfectly, but she's also human. So, of course, we'll see how she deals with it from here on out. And it does add another great layer to Joyce's character.
Yeah, definitely. That was really good. Thank you for speaking to your mum about that stuff. That's not exactly the easiest thing. It wasn't the easiest time in your life. I know you can think about it. I just don't know. Fair play to you for putting that stuff in. That's quite brave.
I think one of the harder things to accept when you get older is that you also didn't deal with things perfectly when you were younger.
But you were a child, so I think you have to give yourself a bit of grace there.
Yeah, you give yourself a bit of grace for sure. My mum ended up obviously going on the radio and speaking on Stephen Nolan. Remember when I was engaged and marriage wasn't legal in Northern Ireland?
Oh, I don't remember that.
I had to deal with like callers ringing up being like, one woman was like, you weren't made properly in the womb and this is something that has happened to you because of that. So then my mum rang up.
Wow.
And my mum was like that my son has been made fine, like the way he is. And she spoke to Stephen Nolan and stuff on that. And people for months and months afterwards would tell me, like, I heard your mum on the radio, like,
that's amazing,
being like an advocate for equality. And like, my mum went to Pride before I'd even went to Pride. That's why I always am a big advocate for like, for people that are younger, talking to older people about things, because I look at my mum and dad's views and opinions and how they've changed of me, and I'm like, if they can change their opinions about that from experience, then you don't need to just throw your hands up and say like, well, when this generation dies, we'll be fine. It's like, let's give them the chance to change first. But it did really reinforce for me that one of the biggest things is it's hard to expect people to change unless they have experiences with the thing that you're wanting them to change. So that's why sometimes I feel like you can't blame Mid-Ulster for being homophobic when they have no experience in their families of anyone who's gay, at least publicly. All their kids move to Belfast for uni and come out then, you know.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
And now over to you, David, the other fruit in the room.
Back in Willow's hospital room, Cordelia says she wishes she could help, without dying. Willow tells him that she wants to try the curse again, despite protests from Xander, who says she shouldn't be messing with that power when she's weak, which is so true. Willow says she feels okay, but Xander says she doesn't look okay, which is like, all right, Xander, fuck you. No, I've just been fucking Billy bookcased, and you think I'm going to be getting up
Billy bookcased.
You don't look okay, does she?
You should listen to him. The hair is so flat and the lips.
Can we stay on topic here, honey?
Which is so funny. Willow is resolved to do it. She wants to help Buffy and it can stop Angel before he wakens at Cathla.
Okay, I pretty much missed out on some stuff, didn't I? Because this is all making the kind of sense that's not.
It must be hard for them to learn their lines because Joss Whedon writes things in such a particular...
Yeah, it's like Yoda.
Making sense this is not.
Yeah, that's what it's Yoda.
But I love again that like Oz is kind of used as the point of reason how ridiculous all of this sounds.
But also as well, I think I quite like the use of Oz as like, okay, has someone just tuned into this episode? Don't worry, Oz doesn't know what's going on either. Just stick with him. It sort of has that vibe. Willow tells him to go with Cordy to the library to get her things and she'll fill him in. And she sends Sandra to go to Buffy.
Tell her what we're doing. Maybe she can stall.
But
Resolve face.
Angel's still torturing Giles. We cut to Angel at this point, who's still torturing Giles, who impressively hasn't told Angel, I am really like, fair play to Giles as a beast, like.
You must perform the ritual in a tutu. Pillock.
Giles is just hard as fuck in this one.
So is I watching it.
Angel's raging and calls for the chainsaw, and Spike, back in his wheelchair and needing to keep Giles alive, suggests that they get the information another way and asks Drusilla if she wants to play a game. Buffy returns to the library to retrieve Kendra's sword when she runs into Snyder, who calls her a criminal.
You know I didn't do it. The police will figure it out.
In case you haven't noticed, the police of Sunnydale are deeply stupid.
He then tells her, these are the moments you want to savor. You're expelled. And the delight that he took in saying that to her, this wee cheeky troll face.
Such an evil dick. And he's so chuffed with himself.
Oh, he's so fucking... But it was such a good bit too. Buffy pulls Kendra's sword out and says,
You never ever got a single date in high school, did you?
Your point being?
After she leaves, Snyder makes a call and says, tell the mayor I have good news.
Which is brilliant. This is setting up season 3.
Wow.
Drusilla uses her psychic powers to see what's in Giles' head, and she hypnotizes him doing her finger trick from last week into seeing with his heart. And when we see Giles' POV, it's Jenny.
I know, it was so sweet, and she looks beautiful.
Giles' happiness when he sees Jenny, like played through the pain as well, is just so well done. It's a real like acting masterclass. Oh my God. He reveals to her that Angel needs to use his own blood in the ritual to awaken a Kafla, not someone else's. And Jenny kisses him, and then we see Giles like full pelt making out with Drusilla.
Proper
Dirty
snogging
bastard.
too. Proper snogs.
And it was probably one of the hottest looking kisses that we've
Yeah.
seen on screen so far.
Apart from one that's about to come up, but go.
Oh yeah, so now that he's got the answer, Angel orders Giles killed, but Spike seemingly comes to Angel's defense saying, well, what if he's lying in order to keep Giles alive? Because obviously Buffy will fucking kill the fuck out of Drusilla if Giles dies. They have to kind of pry Drusilla off Giles' lips pretty much because she was in the moment, and we see Giles realize kind of what he's done, which I love that.
Drusilla's very funny in this episode. She's good in this episode. When they're actually using her
She's
for
good.
stuff, she's good.
Especially when she's not just being all mental. She's like, she plays not being mental really well.
Yeah, she's scary. Because when she could do that magic stuff with her, whatever, that's quite an intimidating, scary trick.
I just think that's a great thing to have her have and to not have to explain it.
Yeah.
Because she's mental.
Yeah.
And I think it works really well. Buffy returns to Whistler at Giles' flat. I just imagine him sitting there the whole time just making himself like sandwiches and stuff. Like he's just like, well, Buffy will come back at some point.
Whistler, what did you mean the sword isn't enough?
He tells her that Angel's blood will send both evil beings back to hell. Blood opens it and blood closes it, which is a bit of a theme in Buffy. He says with importance, the quicker she kills Angel, the easier this will be. And this made me wonder on a bigger level, like if he knows what's going to happen rather than just a general warning.
I was
if
wondering
he's
this.
like, the quicker you kill him, then you won't have to deal with the loss that you're going to see. And this is when I noticed that Buffy's wearing the cross the Angel gave her in the very first episode.
Didn't notice that. Very good.
I loved it. She says it'll be no problem. She's already lost everything. And after she leaves, Whistler says, you still got one more thing to lose.
So we see the sun rise over Sunnydale and catch up with Buffy on her way to the mansion. Sandra jumps out of the bushes and surprises her. Dumbest thing anyone. While she's hopped up, like she's tense. She's ready to go kill the love of her life. And you think, I'll scare the fuck out of her while she's got a sword in her hand. Genius. And instead of telling her that Willow's doing the spell to rain Soul Angel, he tells her Willow said, kick his ass. I love that Buffy's just wandering about with this, but fuck off sword. Me too. She's just that. No one questions it. She's just like, oh, she's going.
In the daytime.
Buffy tells him to free Giles. She can't protect him because she'll be too busy killing. And then inside the mansion, Angel has begun the ritual again, and in the hospital, Willow's beginning her ritual also. When Oz mentions he didn't take Latin, Willow assures him he doesn't have to understand it, just say it.
So this made me wonder about whether the power is in the words or whether the power is in the person, which there must be certain spells that just require you to say the words. Amanda and I did cover this a wee bit more on our bite-size episode where we talked about the finale, where there is a scene in season 4 where Xander's reading out of a magic book and he says like Libro Incende and the book goes up in flames or something, and Giles says to him, Xander, don't speak Latin in front of the books.
It's really funny.
So I thought that was quite interesting.
So it
'cause
is
it's
a
like,
word thing.
okay. But I think there is also a natural thing where obviously Willow's got like a natural
There are
skill.
people who have power. Angel cuts his own hand. This time as Buffy sneaks up on the vampires and full on chops one of their heads off, she says,
Hello, lover.
I don't have time for you.
You don't have a lot of time left.
and it's like, yes, this is what we want. We want sassy, witty, raging Buffy.
You're playing some deep odds here. Do you really think you can take us all on?
No, I don't.
Which was a great scene. Drusilla body slams Spike to stop him attacking Angel. She fully tackles him like an NFL an NFL tackle or rugby tackle.
And she sounds like the flash on a disposable camera that you have to press to charge up. You know, it's like.
That's right. She did actually run towards him. The fighting here, this is so true. They saved all the best fights and stunt coordinators, and the stunt coordinators even look like the actors that they're being. Like Angel's stunt coordinator really looks very, very similar to him. It's dead energetic, really clean, simple fighting, but like done well.
One of my favorite things is this little leg flick that Buffy does. I don't know if you remember, but it's almost like she flicks her leg up from the side. I'll put it in the clip, but it's just so good. It's like,
oh yes. Sander comes charging in and punches the vampire with his cast arm and goes to find Giles. Spike and Drew face off while back in the hospital, Willow continues with the spell.
Xander finds Giles, who thinks that Xander isn't real. And Giles is like, they get inside your head, they make you see things that you want. And Xander responds, well, then why would they make you see me?
Brilliant. I thought that was so good.
I thought that was great. And then Giles is like, all right, let's go. And he helps Giles out as the fight rages on. Now, I don't know if Xander punching the vampire with his casted arm was like a blooper or if it was just because he's being a kind of an idiot and it's what he would naturally do. Drusilla and Spike are still fighting while Angel gets up, making his way to her Kafla and puts his bloody hand on the sword. And it makes this kind of pretty cool looking effect. That just distracts Drusilla long enough for Spike to come behind her and start to suffocate her. Question: how can you suffocate something that doesn't breathe?
Was wondering that myself.
Just a wee plot point, probably. Angel tells Buffy it's too late. Kafla is going to wake up and tells her, you're going to hell.
Save me a seat.
I just love her sass now. I would have loved to have seen a bit of this earlier in the season, but it makes up for it.
It's worth the wait. It's worth the wait, I think.
And they begin a pretty epic sword fight.
It's really good. It's a really good sword fight, actually.
And really long. It goes on for ages.
It went on for a good
so
bit.
Good.
And the editing's great in this because they're jumping between actual Buffy and the stunt coordinators and stuff. Is
really,
brilliant.
really well.
Really,
and I
really
also think the architecture of this mansion really allows them to play with like really interesting angles.
Yes,
at some points, it feels like there's floating blocks, like almost as if there's like floating blocks in the mansion. It was one of the better times that I think, even just like the costumes and stuff and the hairstyle,
everything was.
Really
everyone was on their game. It feels like prop masters, everybody seemed to be bringing the A game for the finale.
Yeah, because even the sound effects of like the swords hitting each other and stuff, like
really
it was.
And it was in time because sometimes you hear those sound effects a second after you see the hit and stuff. It was brilliant.
I wonder if anyone has dubbed over those swords with lightsabers on the internet. I'll have to see if I can find it. Willow seemingly goes a bit woozy while they're performing the ritual, but she gets taken over by something and starts reciting fluent Latin and Romanian in a trance.
Te implore, Duamne, nu ignora chesta rugamente.
Is this a good thing?
Angel manages to back Buffy up against the wall in the courtyard as she drops her sword. Spike is about to leave with Drusilla. He sees it and he comments,
God, he's gonna kill her.
And he just like shrugs and walks off, escaping with Drusilla. I thought that was good.
Loved it.
And I also loved that the car that they escape in is like all blacked out and he just has a wee hole for the window.
Yes, I loved that. Yeah, that was amazing because it was daylight. That was really cool.
Buffy is cowering on the ground as Angel says,
no weapons, no friends, no hope. Take all that away, and what's left?
Thrusts the sword towards her face, basically to stab her in the head, and she stops it like in her hands.
That was brilliant.
So good.
To be fair, that was brilliant. I didn't see that coming. That was great.
She stops it with her hands and she says, me, and then pushes it back and smacks Angel in the face.
It's so good.
Me.
And I thought it was a really good moment to show that, like, Buffy before, when she's been isolated and cut off, has always viewed it as being a bit of a weakness, and now she's turning all of that to be kind of her strength. But she's found her inner strength through all of the stuff that she's had to go through, and now she's like, I've got nothing left to lose.
Nothing left to lose. Buffy gets the upper hand in the fight against Angel, and it's intercut with Willow doing the ritual, as Willow says the final words, Akuma Matata. What a wonderful phrase. Akuma Matata. Hey, no passing parade.
Dum, dum.
It means no worries for the rest of your day. I forgot you got really nice voice. It's rare that I actually get to hear you sing.
My fake American Disney singing voice is really good.
It was really good. Anyway, Buffy gets the upper hand in the fight against the Angel, and it's intercut with Willow doing the ritual. As Willow says the final word, akum, which means now. Buffy has Angel on his knees ready to kill him, right as the orb of Thessaly glows and disappears, and Angel's eyes do this really cool glowy thing right as Buffy's about to behead him. He lifts his head and his face changes to that like sultry, like relaxed face of
like he's trying to read the
Buffy.
menu in a chippy for his dinner.
Yeah, and the music starts. We start to hear their theme.
I already feel like I'm going to cry.
Buffy.
Really? I didn't get that.
I just hate having such a strong sense memory. Like, that's the thing. Like, no matter how many times I stopped and rewound to watch while I was doing my notes and stuff, I was like every single time gurning my eyes out. I think I sent you a video of me like crying while I was doing it. I'll put it in here.
He did.
Oh my god, I'm such a faggot. I've obviously seen this episode like a million times, and yet I still cry. I still cry my eyes out every time I watch it. Angel has no idea where he is or what he's done, and Buffy looks kind of wary of him and shocked. But when he notices that she's hurt, which I thought this was a great way to sell this, he notices that she's hurt from where he slit her arm, and she realizes it's Angel because he's very like affectionate towards her. She just is incredible in this scene. She looks so shell shocked as they embrace, and this is usually where I start gurning. Buffy's face, and even Angel, who's like kind of crying, like what's going on, and it's just so moving and shocking, and we had just geared up so much for her to kill him, so it just feels like such a
letdown.
It's just mental because we still, at this point, still don't know what's going to happen, and I think that moment when she kind of melts into him, when she realizes that it's him, is just, it just gets me. But of course, her face drops when she sees that a Kafla behind Angel opens his big fucking fat mouth, and a vortex appears.
That's exactly what you look like just before you vomit.
No, a Kafla just turns into a Millie like outside Lavery's on a Saturday night. I'm going to add a vortex in while I do that. A Kafla's like, why does Buffy just ring the police? So yeah, a Kafla opens his big fat mouth and a vortex appears. Angel asks what's happening as the score in the background has got me in fucking tears.
Buffy tells him not to worry and kisses him, and finally, after 2 seasons, actually kisses him like a grown-up with some actual chemistry. And as the vortex grows huge behind Angel, she tells him she loves him while crying. He tells her he loves her too. She tells him to close his eyes, which he does, which I'm like, what did he think was going to happen?
But the thing I love about this is that it mirrors Darla in episode 1 when Darla told Angel to close his eyes and she turned him into a vampire.
I love you. Close your eyes.
It shows how much Angel implicitly trusts Buffy because he does like what she says without being worried about it.
Fair. She kisses him one last time, then runs a sword through him as Angel reaches out to her calling her name, and he gets sucked into the portal, which closes. And Buffy bursts into tears. And Tony.
There's just so much here. Like, Angel's face here, like, he has no clue what is going on. I don't think I've ever really registered how hurt he looked before. I think I've always just been focused on, it's so sad Buffy has to kill him, without thinking about, this is our Angel that's back.
Yeah.
That's our Angel.
That's so
And the way
Angel.
he reaches out to her and she's just put the sword through him, it's just very. I've never thought about it from his perspective before,
Yeah.
and it seemed that, and like what I was saying, significantly, the last time he trusted someone this much was Darla when she said "close your eyes," and she also murdered him. So it's just like a sad kind of reflection. No, it's not even like crying because it's like mega emotional, but it's Sarah Michelle Gellar's face that makes me cry, because see when she takes that moment of like Angel gets sucked into the vortex and it shuts, and then she's just standing there in shock for a minute before she bursts into tears. It's and
Great acting.
she could just
Great
cry in
acting.
the Olympics, like. And if you weren't already gurning, then you should be by now when this Sarah McLachlan song starts playing.
The winter here is cold and bitter. It's chill us to the bone.
We see Buffy walking home through the streets of Sunnydale. She arrives home, but we don't see her enter. Joyce makes her way up the stairs and calls for Buffy, noticing that her window is open and her wardrobe is empty and there's clothes all over the bed. Joyce finds a note on the bed and we don't see what it says, but Joyce breaks down here as well, and I thought it was quite sad. And I really feel for Joyce in this moment because she must feel horribly guilty, because, you know, she's horribly guilty.
It was a really good scene. I quite liked that they...
You're crying.
I thought for a second that they were going to rekindle or something, so I quite liked that she came in and took her stuff and left and didn't speak to her. It was really... leaves a lot for next season, which is great. We see the Scoobies minus Buffy arrive at school. Willow's in a wheelchair causing Giles to ask if she should be out of bed. She says, "Look, he's talking," which I quite like that she's giving him a little bit back. Giles has his fingers in a splint and is visibly bruised and bashed, and Xander's arm still in a cast. Cordelia asks if there's any word from Buffy, and Xander confirms no one has seen her. Giles says he went back to the mansion and Acathala was dormant, but Buffy was nowhere to be seen. Willow says she thinks the spell worked. She felt something go through her. Xander says maybe it wasn't in time. Maybe she had to kill him before the cure could work. I quite liked all this little bit at the end. These like little roundup conversations. I loved it.
It was great because also it showed how busted the Scooby Gang
Everybody
were.
was, yeah.
Except Cordelia, who's wearing this sexy yellow dress. I just loved it. She looks so good, while everyone else is like all in a splint and cut. But I like that like they're not magically healed yet. You know, they still look a bit like shit. Which brings me to the point. What did you think about Xander not telling Buffy that Willow was going to do the spell?
I liked it. It felt true to his character. And it was the safest, most reasonable thing to do in that moment.
Yeah.
Save the world.
Buffy's real strength here came from thinking that Angel was gone.
Yeah.
And I've never really thought about that ever. I've always felt like, oh, Xander's such a dick for doing that. And they do actually, this was a heated point of contention in the fandom for years, that Buffy never found out until they addressed it in season 7. They all wonder where she is. Lots of possibilities. If she killed him, she'd want to be alone. If he was cured, they'd want to be alone together. And Cordelia says, well, she's got to show up sooner or later. We still have school. Obviously not knowing yet that she's been expelled and her ma's kicked her out. And we see Buffy watching them from across the street. And she just looks so sad. I just think it's great. And she's obviously dressed like a sad sack too. She's wearing her dungarees and her hoodie, which is her sad clothes. As she walks off, we crossfade to her looking out of a window on a bus on the way out of town as they pass a sign that says, "You're now leaving Sunnydale. Come back soon. Jesus, Mary and Joseph." That's the end. And I think that this scene really inspired my love of like listening to sad songs and looking out windows on a bus.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is really, really, really amazing. I actually think I don't think of them as 2 episodes. They are 1 episode. Like part 1 and 2, it is becoming. It's just one thing, because you can't say, look, oh, part 1 was good and part 2 wasn't. It's like you can't say like the first half of the film was good but the second half wasn't. Do you know what I mean? It feels very much like a piece.
Personally, I love the place that this leaves us going into season 3. Even though this episode had a resolved ending, it also leaves so many threads to explore.
So many.
In a more complex way that is more relationship based. So I'm really excited to see. It's weird to say that because obviously I know what happens in season 3, but I'm excited to watch it with our podcast eyes.
Watch it with our listeners and our streamers.
especially because season three is a lot of people's favorite season, and it's also the big jump to digital, and I'm mostly excited to see the episode 1 haircuts. I love fresh haircuts.
Oh yes, for like September schools. It'd be interesting to see what the fallout of Kendra is, because obviously I'm a big fan of the lore. It's a big thing that brought me to Buffy first whenever we were chatting about doing this. And I know that Buffy died last season, which meant that Kendra's now the Vampire Slayer. Kendra's now dead. So it's leaving us open for something else. So I can't wait to see how they're going to ruin Xander and Cordelia's relationship. We have Oz and Willow's like blossoming relationship and their little odd idiosyncrasies that they have, the wee weirdos. I'm actually quite looking forward to season 3. I think it's going to be a really good.
There's just so many iconic episodes in season 3, like so many.
Don't tell me them and see if I can find them iconic coming into the episodes. I'm looking forward to the lore being explored a bit more, especially as you got some magic from Willow. And there's obviously an indication there that Willow has a talent.
Some innate ability.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, no, it was great. And it was really good season, even though I didn't see them all. Thank you to the wonderful guests at the start of the season for filling in for me while I was having a mentee bee. I think it's been a really good season too. I think our wonderful listeners and our wonderful watchers are wonderful, as we say every week. And yeah, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's been listening and streaming and watching or downloading the podcast. Because, like, genuinely, we didn't expect to get so many people listening. Not that it's about that. It's just the fact that even one of you are. We really appreciate it. And to people that we're starting to get to know, I'm going to shout out to Ali B. Like one of our Patreon subscribers, and always getting in contact and giving some cool questions for our bite size and stuff. And like Shauna Boyle and like Katrina and Amanda, and there's so many people we could shout out to, and obviously the Becoming Buffy podcast girls for coming on the show. Like there's just so many people we could thank, but it's just been a really class year. Essentially, we've got to do 2 full seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
It's been really lovely to also develop in relationships with other people that are doing similar things that also love Buffy. And one of the things I love about it so much is watching them watch you start to like love Buffy more. There's just something like really fulfilling of being like, this is like my dream come true.
How do you know? I don't see, or maybe I just don't. Well, I don't really. I'm terrible at social media, so I don't really pay attention to anything anyone ever says unless you tell me.
Well, because I talk a lot to like, I would say I'm pretty very friendly on really good friend terms with like a couple of the podcasts. So for example, Major Slage, Eric and Ketrin, and then also like revamped Brandon and Courtney. Like I talked to Brandon.
Yes, Courtney's reactions make me laugh so much on the Insta. I see those popping up every so often as Courtney's reactions. Sometimes I love that Courtney's reactions are like...
Following on from what you said, yeah, we just want to thank everyone who's listened along the way. People who have laughed with us, cried with us, or just wondered why Willow has so many backpacks. After this episode, the pod's going to be taking a little summer break to recharge, rewatch, and maybe rethink a few life choices. But don't worry, we're going to be back with the gang for season 3 at the end of the summer, at the start of the school year. We really couldn't have made it this far without you guys, so just wanted to thank you so much, and we're really, really looking forward to catching up with you soon.
Oh yeah, and if you're into any epic trailers or montage videos, don't forget to check out our season 2 cinematic recap over on YouTube. Tony has worked really, really hard, and he's got over like 40,000 views. And on YouTube, on a channel that people aren't really paying a lot of attention to, that's an incredible. I mean, they are amazing. Actually, I'm not gonna lie to you. I watched it so I could see what happens in season 2 before we started doing this. So it was really, really helpful. So I'd say after listening to this, go give that a bit of a watch and a like, because it's amazing. Tony's editing skills are great. While you're there, don't forget to also give us a like and subscribe and hit the little bell icon to get notified when there's some new videos. And for you Spotifyers, go and follow us. Someone unfollowed us this week, I seen, which I really love.
And obviously, if you've been listening for months, we chose not to monetize our Spotify because the placement of the ads is just horrendous, and the amount of ads is just horrendous, and it really interrupts our flow.
We didn't get into this to try and make money. It would be really nice, because I think we're both quite good at this, and it would be quite good at doing like shows like this. But ultimately, it was to have a chat to you about Buffy and to you guest about Buffy, so thank you. Yeah, this is a long outro and a long thank you. No, we're going to take a wee break right now. We will be coming back, and it's not for anything other than we got a lot of stuff on that we've sort of held off doing so that we could get the podcast done. So we're going to just take our time and get it done so we come back fresh. Season 3.
I'm going to Switzerland to work for the summer. But we absolutely love the community that we have built, and we still want to stay in touch. So Dave and I are actually going to open up our All Bronze No Brains Bite Size to be public. So we're going to be putting out our midweek mini pod, which is 20 minutes long, and it's just us talking, answering questions. We'll be putting that out for free.
And we'll do that every week instead of the show just while we're on a break.
Also, I just love the idea of starting Buffy season 3 when it's like back to school time.
Because we did that in season 1 too. I think you could probably do.
Because then we'll get the Christmas episode
season
when it's
12.
Christmas.
Yes.
Guys, thank you so much for an epic season 2. And here's the season 3. Arrivederci.
Aretha Franklin.